Be honest. Is this you? Do you want to get the cards you want and save money too? I might have the best tips that will help you get deals and save money on your chase cards. In my last video, I actually talked a lot about how maybe buying cards is not really a good financial choice. The market's really inflated, the prices are higher than ever. But in this video, whether you're a vintage collector or you're just trying to fill out binders, there's something for everyone to learn about saving money. So let's just jump right into it. The first one is, I know some of you might be tired of hearing this by now, but you have to buy singles. For the love of McNuggies. It is the only way to get the cards at market price or lower and not have to pay an insane amount of money to pull packs and get repeats. If you can't admit that buying singles is the best way and the most cost-effective way for you to get the cards you want, you're in denial and you need Jesus. You're gonna get fluff, you're gonna get cards that you don't want, and let's be honest, your luck isn't that great. You click on this video. Another thing you should know is that typically singles are at their highest value when they first come out, and then singles are typically their most cheap a year or two after they're out of the competitive rotation and they've kind of fully been flushed out into the market. Tip number 2 is probably the best tip I could give you. It's buy the Japanese versions of the cards. Oftentimes the Japanese cards are going to be a wildly different price than their English counterparts. Sometimes the Japanese cards are cheaper, sometimes the US and international releases of the cards are different. There's going to be a lot of reasons for this. The first being that when they release the cards in sets, the Japanese typically have smaller singular sets, whereas the English-international sets are combinations of 2 or maybe even more Japanese sets. Some Japanese vintage sets had holos that were guaranteed. Other cards were exclusively released in mini decks that had the card, so they weren't as expensive as the English version because obviously they're much easier to get. Some of you might be thinking, oh, but you know, I like the English card better, you know, I can read it. I can understand that, but let me ask you something. Without looking, think about your chase card. Think about it. How much HP does it have? What are the attacks that it has?
Got him!
I think about the reasons that I would want that card, and for me, it's usually the art. Alright, on to tip number 3, which is don't be a stickler for card conditions. Don't let the people championing PSA, etc. fool you into thinking that you need to get near mint condition cards.
There's a PSA 10 Pikachu. I own the mass majority global. Buy mint 10. I don't buy anything else.
Personally, I bought an old Lugia. It was Japanese. I got it for less than half of what it would cost normally. Why? Because it has a small crease on it. Does it impact the visuals of the card at all? No. I love this card. Especially if you're someone like me who really likes to fill out binders. There's going to be a lot of cards that you're really just not liking as much as other people. And so they're not going to be worth spending a lot in your mind. So why not get a slightly less good condition one and save yourself some money? And again, with my previous tip of looking at the Japanese versions of the cards, a lot of the time when you're buying Japanese cards online, they are super good about taking good pictures, communication, and in general, Japanese people take really good care of their stuff, and so they're usually in good condition. Tip number 4, know where to look. In my years of experience of buying cards, there's really only 2 places that I use now, eBay and TcgPlayer. For those that don't know, TcgPlayer is one of the biggest websites in North America for singles. They are for sale by owner. Let's talk about eBay. I usually recommend getting cards that are about $10 and higher off eBay and $10 and lower off TcgPlayer. This is because in general, you're not really going to find the cheap cards on eBay. They take a lot of pictures. You're going to be paying single shipping. It's just better for the more expensive cards. When you're buying the expensive cards, then you want to kind of check over the pictures and make sure that you understand what condition the card is in. One of the best ways you can save money is to buy cards in bundles. A lot of the times, sellers will group similar cards in same listing, so you can save on all of them and get multiple at once. And if you are going to bid on an auction, try and make sure that you're doing it right before the auction closes. That way people don't get a chance to outbid you. Now, there are services out there that can log in for you and bid at the very last second possible. It does save you from having to wake up at 3 a.m. for some of those Japanese sellers.
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
If you don't know what a good price for the card you're looking for is, there's a feature where you can look at completed and sold listings to get a great idea. You can look at condition, you can look at timing, etc. You really shouldn't be willing to pay more than what you see here because you just need to be patient. There's always going to be more listings. So you can save sellers, you can save searches, and you can save individual listings. When you save or like a listing, sometimes sellers will have eBay programmed that you will get a discount code in your email for that specific item a few hours later. Something like 10-15%, especially if the card itself really isn't selling or it's not like a super competitive price. I suggest liking it or watching it and then piecing out for a little while and waiting for a discount code to come back in your email a little while later. Alternatively, if an item is just a little bit outside for more than what you'd want to pay, you can actually even DM the seller sometimes and just shoot them an offer even if they don't have the make offer open on their listing. You'd be surprised. To be a good eBay seller, you really have to be good at communication and they will respond to you. Sellers are important. You can really get good deals fast or just have a consistent supply of good deals coming at you from a single source. And a lot of times sellers really like to reward the people who save them. One time, one of my favorite sellers actually did this thing where he started listing cards for really cheap and he just labeled them my collection. He didn't say what it was to attract outside attention. He was basically rewarding the people who have him saved and look at his profile a lot. So TcgPlayer, like I said earlier, they're really good for cards that are under $10. And the reason why comes down to availability and shipping, and you'll see why. When you first get onto TcgPlayer, you'll notice that every card that you find has an insane amount of sellers selling the same card for slightly different prices and different conditions. So fill your cart up, and what you'll find out is you'll have a bunch of cards in your cart from a lot of different sellers. And what you'll do is you'll trim away all the sellers that are selling maybe one or two cards or just kind of have a high shipping to cost ratio for you. When you trim away the fat, you'll save a lot on shipping costs and you'll still have the bulk of the cards that you want. And the other ones that you cut out, you'll have to just save for another day or maybe spend a few pennies on the dollar more to get them on the seller that you already have a lot of cards with. The thing about TcgPlayer is that the customer is always right. TcgPlayer has amazing return policies where if you don't want a card for any reason, you can send it back to the seller and the seller has to pay the shipping costs. As a result of this, a lot of the big players that have 50,000 plus sales or more, you'll see it under there. These are the kind of guys that you want to be buying from. And the reason is because not only do they usually have the best deals, but they will severely underrate the condition of the card to satisfy the customer and not have returns. What this means is that you can buy cards that are damaged and you'll get them and you see nothing wrong with them. This is something I take advantage of all the time. Almost always for cards I really don't care about, I'll get damaged and they come and they're just fine. There was a lot of info in this section and there's a lot of details on TcgPlayer and eBay that I didn't get to cover. These might have to be their own separate video at some point, but this is the highlights. So number 5, it's going to be alternate methods. I know this is a bit of a taboo, but just bear with me. So for many extremely expensive cards, you can find alternates called gold cards. You can find alternates like extended arts. There's plenty of people on YouTube that's turned into a great DIY and arts and crafts project. I highly recommend checking this out if you're a fan of arts and crafts.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso.
Hell, there's even sites where you can upload a picture and they'll just make it for you and send it to you. This is definitely something that's not for everyone. It's something you got to consider yourself. That's the end of the video. These are my top 5 tips to help you save money on the cards that you want to get. Thanks for watching.